How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Working Immersive Podcast. I'm here today with Michael Steinberg from XR Motion, and my name is Christopher Fonte. I'm the CTO of Customer XR. So, Michael, the reason we started this podcast, Working Immersive, is to talk with XR professionals about XR beyond gaming, and talk about the business climate around XR, what people are doing to bring XR into the workplace and to help solve problems in their businesses. So when I met you at NYVR, I saw that you had a lot of input, a lot of good input and a lot of good things to say. You have your whole XR Motion group, and you have that conference coming up. So you're definitely bringing things beyond gaming, bringing people together, having great conversations about how you could use XR. And so I just wanted to, bring you on and give you a chance to talk about some of those things, and maybe we could have some cool little brainstorming sessions and talk about some cool stuff along the way. So first off, I want to let you introduce yourself, give a little bit about your background.
Thanks. Yeah, it is great to be here. Name's Michael Steinberg, and I am a pretty much full-time 3D motion designer. I work in the financial industry, and then I always like to say I am a AR, VR enthusiast. I have every single headset, and I love wearing them and experimenting around with all of the new technologies. And so, we have a meetup called XR Motion. And I guess it's more than a meetup. It's kind of a community, right? So we have a podcast, a YouTube channel. We even have digital art merch because, hey, us nerds gotta look cool too, right? So we do a little bit of everything. And it's been a lot of fun. Been running it for about 5 years now. So, and our community has just grown more and more. And so I guess I'll talk a little bit about XR Motion and the meetup aspect of it.
Sure thing.
So XR Motion has a meetup. It's a monthly meetup in Brooklyn, New York, Crystal Lake, Brooklyn, if anybody's ever been. Great venue. And pretty much it's a monthly meetup last Thursday of each month. And there it's completely free, but we have everybody come in from people who do 2D design to VR engineers. It's just a wide gambit of digital artists. And it is absolutely just it's one of my favorite meetups, obviously, not to be biased, but it's one of my favorite days of the month, to say the least. And we have everybody from just top tier experts who are running studios, working on, top end movies, and to people who are literally coming in saying, what is Blender? So it's just a vast amount of people coming in, and it's a lot of fun. We have about 50 to 100 people that come out. We play everybody's reels. If you have like a 2D, 3D, or any kind of media that you want to play on the projector, we play that all night. And then we have games as well, and it's a lot of fun. So
nice, man.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of what I do.
Very nice. I can't wait to come join for one of those meetings. I like how you said that's your favorite day of the month, because for me, some of my favorite days of the month are when the NYVR or the XR Guild meetups happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because I get to see all my peeps and we all get to talk about XR. But it's cool that that XR Motion goes a little bit beyond XR, still has a lot of focus on it, but you're bringing in other people. NYVR and the XR Guild, of course, they bring in other people from other industries as well. But yours has, the 3D is such a wide field. So the fact that you could bring in so many different people and maybe even introduce them to XR, people that were just doing film. Now they know, there's like all these people that I know and these connections that I just made. Maybe I could jump into the XR space as well. And just bringing more people into the XR space is huge. That's a big part of what we try and do. At Customer XR, a lot of what we do is we build prototypes for people to basically see how they could use XR for their business. In fact, our app on the Meta Store is it's called the Customer XR Showcase. You could download it on your Meta Quest, and it just has different use cases for businesses to see how to use XR. The latest one is actually a kitchen restaurant training app, just to show people a use case of how you could train employees in a restaurant kitchen using XR. But so you didn't always do XR motion and 3D design, I'm assuming? You might have had a different... Was there anything in the past that led you to 3D and in your upbringing or maybe like your past jobs?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to go too far, down this rabbit hole here, but yeah, I long story short, funny story. I wound up meeting somebody at a coffee shop who had a video camera. I'd always loved everything about films, movies. I mean, who doesn't? And this guy, he was just filming something in a coffee shop, and it looked like he had two people kind of acting. And he just looked at me and he said, "Hey, you want to help me out, like filming or something?" Because I kind of went up and I was being a little creepy over his shoulder. And he said, "Hey, do you want to like join in, help out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, would absolutely love to." And I was about 18, maybe 17 at the time. And we wound up kind of connecting. And I remember he opened his laptop the next time we met him. I met him, and he was using a program called After Effects. And I said, "Yo, what is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's After Effects." Oh, that's crazy. I said, "Yeah." I said, do you do this like, for fun? What do you, he goes, "No, I do it for a job." I was like, "A job?" He goes, "Yeah. I have a full-time job doing just After Effects." I was like, "What? You make crazy graphics for full-time?" I'm like, "Dang, I mean, wow, that is crazy. How much do you save?" He goes, a little bit, but I got to pay rent." I was like, "Pay rent? You pay rent doing this?" I was so blown away. I was instantly addicted. I said, I need to learn everything about After Effects, video editing. And so that's kind of where I got started at 18, went to college, and then, started my own path and journey into After Effects from there and video editing. And then one thing led to another. I got really into 3D, and then around maybe 7-8 years ago, of course, doing 3D, I found out about VR and AR, and I said, I need to get my 3D models in VR. And so that's kind of what happened there. And then I got pretty addicted to that for a while, especially during the pandemic. That was just one of the most creative outlooks I had at that time, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And I guess going into the XR Motion community, some of the things that started there was when I actually was originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, before I moved to Brooklyn. And from there, I was always kind of throwing little music shows where I'd have, bands that would play mixed with DJs, and I'd even have stand-up comics open the whole thing. I wanted it to feel like a little mini festival, if you will. And a lot of people would always show up to it. It was so much fun. Always a blast. We'd have food trucks come up, and I just loved this throwing not necessarily a party, but just like a community type
Bringing
event.
people together.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it, not to say it changes people's lives. I mean, some people it did. I actually had somebody tell me recently they met their girlfriend, now wife, at one of my events from Charlotte. So, it's cool to throw these, events and have people have some life-changing experiences at them. So that's kind of when I started getting into VR, 3D, AI even now, not back then, but that's kind of when I said, I really want to meet other people in my industry, and I really want to network. And so I kind of tried to take what I was doing in Charlotte and then apply it here in New York. So there's also a little bit of a story in between that. I won't get into it, but yeah, I just kind of had that experience in Charlotte, and that's kind of what led to XR Motion being what it is today.
Very nice. That kind of reminds me of a little bit of my background. A lot of what I was doing in XR and even video and film all started when I was in Massachusetts at UMass. And there was people I met there and gatherings and stuff. But once you come to New York, it's like everything levels up. You know what I mean? Like New York is just such a melting pot of everyone and everything. So I thought that it was cool. It was almost like an appetizer in networking when I was in Massachusetts. I used to go to all sorts of things. And I got to really get my bearings, learn how to talk to people, learn how to network. That way, when I moved to New York, it just was able to come so much more naturally. But yeah, a lot of these groups that you go to in these meetups and stuff, I find that music is something that could really bring people together. Now a lot of the XR meetups, there's sometimes some musical things involved and stuff, but it's cool that you mentioned that your festivals, or we didn't want to call them festivals, right? your old meetups included music. I think that's such a cool way to bring people together, even if you go beyond the music and you start, incorporating some networking and some business into it. Just like the music can bring people together, which also reminds me of in the Horizon Worlds. There's a lot of these like concerts that people are putting on beyond just Meta's, Sabrina Carpenter and Doja Cat concerts, which are cool.
Yeah.
But those are just video that you get, you feel like you're at the concert. But some people I know, like there's a guy, DJ Manny, from Royalty Radio Media. He puts on these VR concerts called Winter Jams and Summer Jams, where your avatar is actually on a stage and there's people, their avatars are off the stage, and you could talk back and forth with them and interact with them.
Wow.
And those feel like, at least for me, how concerts and stuff in Massachusetts used to feel. Like you could actually talk with the artists and stuff. It's not like a giant Madison Square Garden show where they walk off the stage like, go home now.
Yeah.
Like with these, you could actually talk to them afterwards or like say things to them. They'll hear it. So it's much more interactive. So those are really fun. I really like that. And, of course, the XR aspect and combining music and XR, gotta love that.
Dude, it's so good. I actually did I've done a few of the VR, like kind of concert type things, and there's so many different ways to go about it. Actually, a while ago, I haven't fulfilled this, but wanted to even kind of do a VR chat type game, but it would only be with music video worlds. Because honestly, as you were saying, I think that's one of the coolest, most fun things in VR. There's so many things, but I recently actually did do the Sabrina Carpenter world, and it was really fascinating because you're watching almost a movie, but with so many other people, and everyone's talking about what they're liking, what they're not liking. It's like a movie theater you can talk into, except it's a concert. And yeah, it was really cool. Like it felt like, you're watching kind of a live recording of a concert, but then they're also able to mix in other post aspects, like intermissions where a scene comes in with a car and then the car explodes and she's jumping out of it. It was just a whole new experience. And I've been to lots of festivals. I've been to lots of concerts and shows, and it was just a whole new experience. And I mean, it was really exciting to know that this is probably only going to get bigger and better in the future. And yeah, it was really fascinating. Like it's been a minute since I've sat in a single world for almost 40, 50 minutes, and it totally hooked my attention. So,
yeah, those worlds are amazing. But I think that, they have pros and cons, both the ones I was just mentioning, like Winter Jams, and those Meta concerts with like Sabrina Carpenter. But both are amazing, and people that haven't tried them, I definitely recommend you should try them. All you need is a MetaQuest headset, and then you can just jump right into either of these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back a little bit, so you network with a lot of people in film, right? Do you find any kind of differences when you're networking, specifically like when you're trying to find money-making opportunities with people in film as opposed to people that work in XR?
Yeah, I mean, I find, what's interesting about XR Motion is that we have a big, obviously a lot of VR people and a lot of 3D and 2D animators. And it's really, as much as I think one of my goals has always been to bridge that gap. Like, how do we get the VR people working with 3D artists and 3D artists working with VR artists, right? Because I think it would be just a magical thing to see more of it. And so that's kind of what we're all about. But it is interesting because I feel VR artists a lot of times need a much bigger community, and you need a lot more people to work on a VR, AR, XR experience, at least a group of 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3D used to be a lot like that, even 2D, where you needed a small little community in order to make something very impactful or something that a client would be interested in. But now we're actually in kind of a world where a single 3D artist can have multiple clients and be working multiple jobs in a week or in a month. And so it is, it's almost become a little bit more siloed in a lot of cases, unless you're directly at a studio, from what I've seen. Whereas I've never really met too many VR artists independently make something that is generating a lot of revenue. A lot of times you need a lot more people, from what I've seen. Whereas I know countless amount of 3D and 2D artists who are just completely freelance by themselves and get hired by companies to work.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely found that in the XR community, I feel like it's easier to get those people and find people that want to get involved with an XR project, because it's just such a, it's not early in the XR, path, but there's just so much to be done, and there's so many people with a lot of ideas and imaginations that want to see a future where XR can really reach the heights that we see in our minds. And I think that's why there's so many people that are very uplifting in the space and willing to work and collaborate. Perhaps that was, like you said, early on in 3D was like that. But now that it's just become, I guess, easier to create the content, you don't need as many people, like you said. So it's kind of shifted. I wonder if that will happen to XR one day. Maybe it'll become so democratized to make XR content that these people will kind of split up. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But at this point right now, I think it's, from a lot of the other industries that I've encountered, I feel like XR is the most welcoming and most willing to work and collaborate. So I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I 100% do. I think that's why I love our industry so much, is because there is so much collaboration needed. Even as a 3D artist nowadays, there's still going to be a slew of problems that you don't know how to fix or do, and you need to ask for help. And same with AR and VR. And it just seems like that by needing to ask for help, you instantly become somebody who's humble and wanting to network all the time and help everybody else out, because you yourself are going to need help from somebody. And I think that's what really leads to just such a great community, and why we're all just, every single person you meet. I don't think I've ever actually met can we curse on here? I don't think I've ever met a true asshole in our industry. Every single person I meet is always so nice, so amazing. Oh man.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Never met an asshole in this industry. But yeah, everyone's very humble. Because like I said, they see the potential for this technology, and they want to share, and they want to see it reach, the heights that it should. Yeah. Which is, goes back to Customer XR, and our whole mission is making it accessible and bringing people into the ecosystem, and showing them the power of XR, so that we have more use cases, more users, and then we could ultimately get to that point.
Yeah. And I also wanted to kind of jump on the point of, will VR, AR, XR industry kind of get to the point where one person can make some phenomenal experience? I think they already, I think you can do a lot of it. It's just maybe sometimes, again, the revenue aspect might be a little bit more difficult as an independent. But I totally see, with 3D and motion graphics, what kind of led to that being possible was a lot of the technology advancements, from being able to render quickly. Just 20 years ago, you could only render wireframes in real time. Wireframes, it's absolutely insane. And now you can render, with Unreal Engine, Unity, you can render pretty almost realistic, videos in real time. I mean, it's mind blowing what you can do and be able to iterate. It's just so fast. So I think, a lot of that too, that's been affecting our field, and as well what I think will be helping advance the XR industry, is going to be AI. So, being able to, at NYVR, we were seeing people who were taking pictures and they needed an entire landscape, an entire forest of different types of trees. And they were just going into Midjourneys, taking pictures with zero 3D experience, and then uploading them into something like Polygon, and literally instantly generating 3D assets, or Polycam, I'm sorry, and instantly generating 3D assets and having a whole plethora and a library of trees that they were able to use in their game. Just one person got 20, 30 different tree assets by themselves. So yeah, I really think that there's going to be a lot more of those opportunities. Some we probably can't even think of right now that are going to start popping up and lead to a lot more independent, amazing experiences in the XR industry. Yeah,
AI has definitely made the whole process and workflow of creating any kind of 3D digital content, especially XR, it has democratized it, I think. Like you said, you don't even need to have 3D experience anymore to create some of these assets. Now, is that ethical to cut out the 3D modelers and stuff? I don't know, but at least for us, when we're building these prototypes, the whole idea is like it has to be low cost and quick. So to make those things quick and low cost, just to show the idea and the concept, AI is very helpful for that.
Yeah.
And the idea is to, when we get buy-in and these people see the value, we could, get more of a budget and start bringing in, 3D modelers and all sorts of other people into the equation. Because I personally don't want to cut 3D modelers entirely out, even though
no, there will always be, I think, a need for it. Whether it's just from getting creative ideas to unifying a lot of the assets to look more
optimizing.
Similar. Exactly, and even just producing their own creative touch. Like everybody loves. No, we still buy paintings, right? You don't just take a picture of a painting and hang it on the wall. No, you want to have the authenticity of human value and touch inside whatever you're doing. Like it adds tremendous values, and I don't think that'll ever go away.
Yeah, I definitely see that as well. Okay, so I know you have the XR Motion conference coming up. Did you want to talk a bit about what people might be able to see there?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about XR Motion, the community we have, and from that, XR Motion, which started just kind of at a bar by myself, grew to 50 to 100 people. We kept taking everybody's request on how we can make it better and better. And now all of a sudden we had people saying, hey, you should do just a conference, like 1 day event that's just all out awesome. So we pondered about it for about a year, looked at the logistics, and sure enough, we are doing our first ever XR Motion conference October 25th. And we are going to be having tons of guest speakers. We're going to be having some workshops, which is exciting. We're going to be having a lot of XR experiences there with headsets and people showing off some of the things they've been working on. And we're even going to be having a 3D Unreal karaoke event, which is insane. And yeah, some of the speakers, we have Michelle Cortez. She is a director at Meta for the Metaverse. So I still can't believe she's coming. I'm so excited to meet her in person and see her talk. We've got EJ. I don't know if you know EJ. He's from School of Motion. He's a creative director there. Patrick 4D. He is a 3D artist who has just been... once you see his work, you're going to be baffled. Every single day he makes a new type of art.
Like I did see some of these reels and some of at the NYVR presentation you did, and some of the work that these people are doing is like extremely professional. Like wasn't one of them, correct me if I'm wrong, like the Marvel logo or something?
Yeah, we have John, who's going to be, he actually works at owned Black Box Studio, and he, I believe, was... Well, in the XR space, what's fun is he was one of the people that went viral, I think about a year or two ago, for producing the design concept for F1 race, where in a Vision Pro or a VR headset, you could see the actual race cars going around the track while also having a full screen in front of you of the live feed from the show or I'm not even F1. Is that? I'm not even an F1 person. Is it?
Yeah, I guess a race.
A race. Well, yeah, but it's like what do you call it when you have a paid subscription to? Anyway, so you can watch the live feed of the race while also looking down at a track and seeing all the cars go around. So
it's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh. So cool. So cool. And then, his studio was with Marvel, and I believe he was kind of one of the people that helped out with some of the advanced technological graphic display. So whenever they needed something like Black Panther to say, hey, we need this to look really futuristic, we need some concept designs, his studio would go in and help Marvel design that. So again, the people coming to the conference, I'm too excited for. I still can't believe it. And some of the workshops that we have are going to be really exciting too. I'm a little bit nervous. We haven't even announced them yet. But I'll just say they're just as exciting as some of the guest speakers that we're going to be having on. So there's a lot happening. We're also going to have a happy hour. So the amount of bang for your buck you're getting is pretty unbelievable. It's an exciting. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Definitely gonna be joining. Definitely hoping to meet some of those people and see what they have to say.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One last thing I wanted to say. It's at NYU Tandon. So if you haven't been to NYU Tandon, it is just they've got every single VR headset, virtual screens, and they also have a virtual videogrammetry environment where in real time you're having a volumetric pretty much produced of you in video form that you can spin around in Unreal Engine. It's great. There's so much cool stuff.
I've seen those, but I know you need like a very specialized space in order to utilize something like that. So I didn't even know they had that there. Yeah. I know the XR Guild meets at NYU Tandon. Is it in the same kind of area? There's like 40 buildings or something there. So
it's going to be, at the Yard. Yep, Building 22.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, and it's pretty good parking there too, I must say. You could drive there. Good stuff. Also, speaking of Marvel, I tried the AVP What If app.
What were your thoughts on that?
It was cool. I got through like a couple of the scenarios. I thought it was a cool way to like make something that is ultimately just a movie feel interactive in a way that was like very accessible, because I don't think you could lose in that game. Like there was some parts where you're supposed to like move stuff, and like I was just messing around with it, and eventually it just moves it for you. So it continues the story, which is something that we do a lot in our apps. If there's like a certain thing, like close the cabinet and watch the soft close door feature for the kitchen saver app that we have. If someone like doesn't do it, or if it's like they're just like looking at it or something, like it'll just do it for them. That way the experience continues and there's no way to lose. So it's not a game at that point, it's an experience.
Wow,
you can't lose. But I feel like the Marvel experience is just like that. You can't lose, but you're still engaging and interacting with this movie. And also at the beginning of it, the Marvel logo like flies past you, and you feel like you're like in the Marvel logo at one point. I was like, holy shit. And it reminded me of I saw the Marvel logo in the reels that you were showing off for the XR Motion conference. So that was pretty cool.
No, I love what you're doing. I feel like the experiences are my favorite part about VR and AR. I rarely ever play the games. Well, I play a lot of games, but I definitely am more in VR chat and trying out the new experiences and with the Apple Vision Pro. I just think there's so much opportunity there, and those are the things that really excite me about it. And so I love that that's your focus, is kind of getting away from the gaming and looking at those other opportunities. Yeah,
that's how you bring people in that are not gamers. You make things that aren't games, that are experiences. Like, people at Disney World, they don't want to have an experience or where it's like, you could lose and it's like, okay, get off the ride, you lost. They want to be able to get through the whole thing and experience the whole thing. I feel like that's how most non-gamers, look at this stuff. So like, our theory is a great way to get them involved in the ecosystem is to give them an experience that is impactful, that leaves them with a good feeling at the end. Games are fun too, but if it's your first time, games might not be the right move. Might need an experience where you could get through the whole thing and get to have a good feeling at the end. Like, I did something, even though you really didn't.
Yeah.
But you kind of did. You sat and you experienced it, and you learned perhaps. So that's a big a lot of ideas that we have about customer XR. I liked how we brought that into the conversation as well. But we're approaching the end, so I wanted to try out something.
Let's do it.
So one thing I wanted to implement into these podcasts is we're going to ask AI to give us a random business type, and then we're going to try and theorize a way that business can use XR.
All right.
So let's try it out. Let's see if it works. ChatGPT, are you there?
Come in, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, do you read me?
Loud and clear. How's it going? What can I help you with today?
All right, ChatGPT, simple question. Can you give us one random type of business?
Sure thing. How about a cat cafe? It's a cozy spot where people can enjoy their coffee or tea while hanging out with adorable cats. Pretty fun.
Cat cafe. So how could they use XR? Well, I feel like there are cat cafes in the metaverse, like where there's virtual cats that like you could kind of feel like you're petting them and stuff. Pets in VR is actually an interesting thing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's like there was a game, Hand Physics Lab. You ever heard of that?
No.
It was on the Meta Quest. It was one of the first games to really utilize hand tracking. And I used to bring that experience to a lot of people to kind of like show them VR for the first time. Because you could just pop it on someone's head and then like it's just intuitive, like, which is another thing we do. All of our apps are hand tracking because you don't have to explain controls to people. It just makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And this game, Hand Physics Lab, had a cat little section of the game where you could just pet a cat. And that was like huge. Like people loved that, even though like it was super simple. Like the cat only made one sound effect. So it just kept going meow, meow in the same exact way over and over again. And like you just pet it and then you realize you could like pick it up and then you could like throw it off the table. So like some people would start throwing the cat off the table and like hitting it and stuff. And some people would just be content with just going like this over and over again.
Well, that's how you know if you want to work with that client or not.
Yeah, depending on how violent they are with the virtual cat. But yeah, if there was a cat cafe that was like in real life, you know, I'm thinking about ways that they could use XR. They could probably use XR to maybe record some of the cats and record the space and then make videos like saying, hey, look at the cats, like in a 360 video, and you could like watch it in VR, maybe on like a VR streaming app or something with like a 360 video, and then feel like you're like a tiny little camera and then the cats will come right up to you. And I feel like that could be like a cool way people, you know, incentivize people to come visit those same cats in real life.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, a cat cafe, it's so fascinating to think of what could really value the company. But I could totally see something where you're, you know, either, I think one of the fun things in VR or XR right now is doing wall placement things where you can kind of put other objects in your environment. So I could see something where you're looking at maybe, I don't know, I'm just imagining changing your environments that you're in with the cats running around. Like you're in space or you're, I don't know, in the Amazon or something like that. And then all the cats are kind of running around and the cats are kind of this realistic part in a VR experience. And it's kind of like a mixed reality type thing. I could see that being really fun. And also just maybe if you wanted to, I mean, I guess you could technically do this at home too, but you know, if there was different types of, I'm always meeting people who, when you have a cat, apparently you become like a cat toy builder and you're trying to figure out all these ways to put, you know, different furniture together so your cat can climb on it. Maybe there would be something where you could build stuff like that with the cat. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. But.
Yeah, no, those are good ideas. I like the spatial anchors idea you had, where you could place, you know, objects virtually in a space, and then also have the cat in that space. It'd be crazy if like the cat was wearing a headset too, and it would see those objects too, and have to like navigate around them. That would be that is some sci-fi. But also just, you know, if you were in a cat cafe and you had like a AR headset that could maybe make some of the surroundings make you feel like you're like on an island or something, and then, you know, might make people feel like very calm, and then you also have a cat in your hand at that point. Using things like hand tracking would make it so you don't have to have any controllers. You could just have the headset, the cat, And then maybe you could even like watch like some videos. Like if you just had an Apple Vision Pro with a cat,
Right.
I feel like that would be a great experience. You could like watch something, and then you could still have your cat, and you'd see the cat, and you'd be able to touch the cat without having to worry about controllers or anything. So yeah, just having like 5 Apple Vision Pros at a cat cafe, I feel like that's all they need to start.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You could really just, honestly, the use case being that this could be in almost any business, but just having a VR headset that somebody could enhance their experience, just literally watching a regular movie. Like, hey, do you want to watch the new, I don't know, Marvel movie or the new Spider-Man? I mean, I always do it. That's one of my favorite parts, is watching 3D movies, Spider-Man. Great, we'll come to our cat cafe where you can just rent a headset for an hour and you'll have cats that you can pet while watching your favorite movie.
Yeah, that's
would
brilliant. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the business case for them.
Who doesn't, why go to a movie theater when you can go to a cat cafe?
Yeah, plus I'm sure they have drinks too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant. Mikey, I think that was about wraps it up. I appreciate you coming on to the Working Immersive podcast. Thanks for coming on short notice as well. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed your time.
Dude, I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to see what you keep working on and what you're going to be doing here in the future.
Cool, and I'm excited for the XR Motion conference in October. It's going to be a big one. Cool. Well, that's it, everybody. Thanks for joining for episode 2 of the Working Immersive podcast. My name's Chris Fonte, CTO of Customer XR, and Michael Steinberg from XR Motion. Thanks for watching.